Welcome, everybody, to our newest episode of Thriving at the Beach, where our primary goal is to get you excited about the future of the Myrtle Beach and surrounding areas. We do this by giving you an opportunity to meet the people that are busy working behind the scenes to power our success. And today's show is all about infrastructure, and specifically the internet. We're going to learn a little bit about what it is, why it's important, how long it takes to get infrastructure set up and ready to go. And we're super excited today to have Sarah Bonnoitt. Am I saying that correctly?
Bonnoitt, yeah.
Bonnoitt, okay. The Director of Public Affairs for Horry Telephone Cooperative, better known and more frequently referred to as HTC. So we're going to get a chance to learn a little bit from her about what her company does and the impact that it has in our economic growth and development. But before that, I want to tell you a little bit about Sarah. So Sarah is a Myrtle Beach native. She was actually born at the Grand Strand Hospital, so hats off to Grand Strand for that. She's an graduate of Santa Clara University out of California, and then came back to good old South Carolina for her master's at USC. So we are super excited to have her here with us. She is also, I want to take this opportunity to thank you and your company for being diamond level sponsors with Partnership Grand Strand. We so appreciate that. And your company has been such a wonderful partner to us in the short time that we've been around. So we deeply appreciate that and want to use this forum to say thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's dive in. We'll go ahead and get started with kind of helping us understand, Sarah, if you would, a little bit, first of all, about your company, and then we'll talk a little bit about your role. So Horry Telephone Cooperative. Tell us a little bit about what it is and what you do.
Absolutely. So Horry Telephone Cooperative, we do go by HTC now, and I'll get into that. We were founded as Horry Telephone Cooperative in 1952 in Horry County with the mission of connecting households and businesses that did not have access to landline telephone at the time to that technology. So our founding principles, founding mission was to improve the lives of the community we serve through connectivity. We have certainly grown throughout the years. That technology has advanced, and now our focus is internet. And we also serve Horry, Georgetown, and Marion counties, so that's why we are really making a conscious effort to go by HTC, because we now serve a tri-county region there.
Ah, that makes perfect sense.
Yes, so that and telephone is a little outdated, but legally we are still, on the legal documents, we're Horry Telephone Cooperative, but in the community and everything that we do, we are HTC.
Well, I don't feel so bad now because I had to stop and think what HTC really stood for. So I'm glad that I can go by HTC now and be aligned with
Absolutely. But we are a cooperative. That is something that makes us very unique. What that means is everyone in our company, from our CEO to frontline employees, we live here. We work here, we shop here, we go to church here, our children go to school here, and that is a big part of who we are. Giving back to our communities and investing in our communities is a big part of who we are. And we don't have shareholders that are out of the state that we have to answer to. We don't have to meet certain profit margin targets. So when we do make a profit, we are able to take that money and reinvest it back into our network. And also return it back to our membership, our customers, our members, in the form of capital credit checks. So those are two big benefits of us being a cooperative and being in this community.
So on this notion of being a cooperative, is it fair to say that you are a collection of multiple entities that provide internet connectivity? Are they individual companies that come together under the cooperative?
No, so it's one company, one entity, but with a cooperative structure, our customers are essentially owners of the company. So as a member, you have ownership in the company, but it is all one company, one membership. Even when we go to Georgetown and we go to Marion, all of those residents, all of those businesses are members. They receive the same rates, the same speeds, the same benefits of being a member of the cooperative.
Okay, interesting. And is that a pretty common structure, do you know, like across the country to have a cooperative type approach to delivering
It
internet?
is. So,
Okay.
especially in what was traditionally rural markets, it is common to have the locally owned internet provider be a cooperative. But there's also, that's a very popular structure among electric providers. So, if you have Ori Electric, Santee Electric, it's a very
Okay,
similar
I see.
cooperative structure.
Well, thank you for that.
And another fun fact, HTC is actually the largest telecommunications cooperative in the nation. And that is something that's something
Wow.
not a lot of people know about, but something we're proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be proud of it. And
Hmm.
you guys are just such amazing community partners. I mean, we can probably do a whole podcast just talking about the things that
Right.
you do for the community, but we'll focus today at least on infrastructure, and then we'll have y'all come back and
Okay.
we can talk about that as well. But um, thank you for that definition. That's really helpful to me and hopefully to others as well. So, what I would love to know now is for you to kind of share with me a little bit, with all of us a little, Sarah, about your role as Director of Public Affairs. What are some of the primary things that you manage and focus on a daily basis?
As Director of Public Affairs for HTC, I oversee the marketing, public relations, and government affairs functions for the company. So, our big focus of getting our story out there through public relations, um, marketing. It's a huge undertaking for us. We'll talk about this later in the podcast, but one of our big goals is getting the word out about HTC to new people to the area. That's a big focus of our marketing team. And then government relations, the regulatory world of telecommunications is ever changing, ever challenging. So
I can imagine.
I assist HTC on the local, state, and federal level on that front. So something new every day definitely keeps me on my toes.
Absolutely. That's a big job. That's a lot of things to have to keep rolling in
Well,
the same direction.
we
No
certainly
question.
have a great team of people that makes it easy and fun for me.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So let's kind of hone in a little bit on the work that HTC has done over the years in the area of foundational fiber, and talk to me a little bit about what your company has been able to accomplish in this area that kind of sets us apart and also positions us for the future.
Absolutely. We like to say that HTC started deploying fiber before it was cool. We actually started deploying fiber in this area way back in 2007. That doesn't feel like that long ago, but it is. We've had some wonderful leaders at HTC over the years that saw that fiber was the future and made the very intentional choice to invest in our network and start deploying that technology early so that HTC and our area was positioned and ready for that need before the growth happened. The last thing we would want is to be playing catch up to meet the demands of the economic growth in this area. So they made those decisions early, and we were in a really good place, not just to face the growth, but to weather the pandemic when that hit. A lot of people don't realize that because of those investments, when the pandemic hit, Horry County already had, I think it was 99.7% access to broadband. So almost 100% of the homes in Horry County had access to broadband at the start of the
Wow,
pandemic.
that's impressive.
So we were really well positioned to weather that unfortunate challenge. But from a connectivity standpoint, Horry County did really well. And we've done a lot of work in Georgetown and Marion to help bridge that digital divide there. But from an economic development standpoint, having that fiber infrastructure, that state of the art network in place, ready to go on day one for recruiting companies, for touting the quality of life for our area is a tremendous asset.
Well, and especially with the, continued growth of internet usage and internet capability and so forth, how visionary,
Right.
was it for your leaders to be able to go ahead and get ahead of that? I mean, there's many areas, as you know, Sarah, in this in this community as we begin to develop, where we are a little bit behind the eight ball. It's really super incredible that the folks inside your organization got us ahead of the curve as it relates to that. And out of curiosity, you mentioned during the pandemic there was like 99% kind of service capability. How does that compare to other communities? Like, is that like crazy high, or is that?
It is. There were a few other counties in the state that were doing well, not quite that well, but for comparison, even just in Georgetown County, I believe they were close to 30% of their rural areas did not have access, and maybe about 35% in Marion. So, and there are other areas of the state, even more rural, that were worse off. So we were very fortunate.
So again, just another strength that that we have here in Horry County that's positioning us for growth. So
that's right.
Thanks to HTC's leadership for that.
Thank you.
So you mentioned like laying fiber and this grid and so forth, and I'm not a very technical person, but I wanted to kind of see if you could explain a little bit about. I'm assuming that's all underground. Is that correct?
It depends on basically it depends on the project area. So when we can go underground, we certainly prefer that. That is especially with the storms that we see here, that is the best way to do it. But in certain settings and rural settings, we may go aerial if we try to ride existing infrastructure as much as possible. So wherever the electric infrastructure is, we tend to follow that. Right? So it's a mix.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what's involved in getting to the point where we're 98%, 99% service levels? What's involved in that, and how long does that typically take?
That's a great question. It, again, depends on where we're building. If it's a rural area or if we're building in Myrtle Beach, that's a lot harder. If we're building somewhere along the literal strand, we try to avoid these summer months, so that makes our planning a little bit difficult. But from start to finish, it is a very complex, very detailed. First, we have to plan, we have to engineer, we have to get permits, and then we have to check for other utilities, and then we can start construction. So it really varies. But for example, the grant projects we had in the rural areas during COVID, those were actually range from 3 to 6 months up to maybe a year build. But it is a very capital intensive process. I've found that there's a misconception during the pandemic in rural areas that the internet is just something we could turn on, and that is not the case.
Interesting.
It is very similar to building water infrastructure, building electric infrastructure. And from a cost standpoint, it costs about $80,000 a mile to build this infrastructure. Ooh. So it is very capital intensive.
And we're spoiled rotten here, right? Because we have all that already available to us. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that segues my thinking into, we hear a lot of buzz about this undersea cable, and it's something that's been in the news quite a bit, and I didn't even know what an undersea cable was until just a few months ago. I'm wondering if you could help us understand the connectivity or the connection between this undersea cable. Number one, what is it doing? I know that there's been discussion about it connecting us all the way to Argentina and so forth, but if you could just kind of clarify what that is, what that's doing, and how that intersects with HTC.
Absolutely. I will do my best.
Yeah, well, I know I'm going to learn something. That's for sure.
There you go. It is definitely something that has drummed up a lot of excitement in our area over the last year or two, but it is something that kind of your average consumer doesn't fully understand because it is a new concept and a kind of a complicated technology concept. But essentially what this subsea cable is doing, we like to compare it and the accompanying data center to an on and off ramp for data going to and from, I believe it's now South America and Brazil. So it's an interstate on and off ramp to other parts of the world and other parts of the country. And it has the potential to attract other big technology companies that want to be able to directly plug into Google's network and Meta's network. That data center is their on and off ramp for that. So
Okay.
that is the best kind of metaphor for what that is for the industry and for our region. But the difference between that and what we do is this data center and this subsea cable won't actually connect any of the end user residents and businesses in that area. That is still an HTC job, maybe some other companies I won't mention. But the subsea cable and the data center is purely meant for that on and off ramp to the international landscape for tech companies, if that makes sense.
I see. Okay, so that's great clarity. So for us and most of the folks that are listening, it's like HTC's our provider,
Right.
and what that cable's doing, just to paraphrase, make sure I understand it, is really there to attract like large tech companies and businesses that need that kind of international kind of connectivity.
Right. So
Or
think
at
of all
least-
the things on your phone, on your TVs that you use. Their data getting out to the rest of the world is what that data center assists with.
Interesting. Okay, so would it be fair to say then that we probably would not have been as likely or as good a candidate for a undersea cable placement if we didn't already have the infrastructure in place that HTC has built?
I think having that network presence certainly helped with that recruitment effort.
Well,
That
that's
would be
awesome.
my opinion and my thought, but the economic development folks that were involved in that discussions can probably confirm that.
Well, cool. Well, thank you for that, because you're right. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's confusing for folks, and the one thing that I've learned recently is this, how important this infrastructure is.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a lot of conversation about, when we think of infrastructure, the first place everybody's head goes is transportation, right?
Right.
But infrastructure is so many more things, is what I'm learning. And having that foundational infrastructure that HTC has created for us is a tremendous asset for every resident, every visitor,
Right.
and every upcoming business that
Yeah.
decides to come to this area. So.
And one more thing on the data center front that I like to point out, we're on a podcast right now, so I don't have the visual support, but there is a map that the state broadband office puts out that shows, there's two maps actually. One shows the best available technology throughout the state, and then another shows the areas of need, color coded to show these are green is good, orange is these areas lack access to high-speed internet. And when you overlay the locations of the data centers around the state on top of that map, what differentiates Myrtle Beach from the rest of the regions where these data centers are is the fact that it's surrounded by green, whereas the other regions are not. So it's surrounded by an existing high-speed fiber optic network. So again, when you're looking at economic development recruitment efforts, it's that combination of something like a data center and a subsea cable with a fiber optic network to help sell that quality of life for residents and businesses that really helps sell the package.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. I thank you for that explanation, because, so much of what is happening and the momentum that's building here is what continually comes up for me is that it always happens in conjunction with a lot of collaboration from a lot of different parties, right? And that it takes a long time to build to the point where you actually start, maybe if you're a resident in the area or so forth, till you actually start to see and feel and realize the change that is coming. And I think we're at a tipping point right now where multiple entities, and just like in the example that you gave, are coming together, or have been working together, I should say, for a long time. And folks are going to now, because we've done that pre-work,
Right.
they're going to start to see some of the benefits of what's been going on for many years before today.
Right.
And I just love that because I see a lot of that collaboration on a day in and day out basis with really all entities that we're talking to on this podcast and that we're interacting with as we begin to plan for the upcoming
Yeah.
upcoming growth that we're going to see.
A lot of work behind the scenes, for
absolutely,
sure.
absolutely. So one of the things we like to chat about as we get a chance to speak with folks like yourself is what are some of the initiatives that HTC is currently focused on, and why are they important?
So I've got two initiatives, but they're kind of one and the same. Is again, it's all about fiber. So what we're working on right now is upgrading our existing network to fiber. We right now are at about 85% fiber in our network, which is fantastic, and we are working every day to get that number to 100. Our existing network, even the remaining percentage that's still on coax, that's still capable of reaching speeds up to 1 gig. But what we're doing with this fiber upgrade is making sure all of our network will be capable of reaching those 10 gig speeds sooner rather than later. So preparing again for that future demand. And then, so that's our upgrading our existing network and then deploying fiber to new areas to both expand our footprint and continue to help ensure that our entire region has the network they need to support the growth that is coming and make the Grand Strand more attractive and more competitive.
Yeah, so upgrading the fiber and making it broadly available, even
Right.
more broadly than
Right.
it already is. Right?
Mhm.
So that's awesome. And you mentioned something earlier I wanted to come back to because we're talking about infrastructure, but there's a component of HTC's structure that really fuels economic development. And you touched on it earlier, but I would love to have you elaborate for the listeners to really kind of talk about the way you guys give back. And I think it's fascinating to
Sure.
see how that works.
Yeah. So there's a couple of, I guess, facets or ways that we give back to our community. We have what we call a Helping the Community initiative, which is really kind of our philanthropic arm of charitable giving. So hundreds probably of organizations, charities in our areas. We're very intentional about giving back in that way and our employees participating in various events in that way. But because we are a cooperative, we also have the ability to reinvest the profits that we make back into our community in ways that support either education and economic development. So educational initiatives is a big priority of ours, and then anything that supports economic development and improves our community as a whole. So that's where the HTC Aspire Hub was an opportunity for us right here in downtown Myrtle Beach to make an investment to support technology, innovation, and economic development that we feel will impact not just Myrtle Beach, but the entire county and the entire region.
Yeah, absolutely. And I read somewhere, or perhaps someone from your corporation had explained to me that there's a process in place where there's rebates to be claimed, and then if folks don't claim them, they get a chance to be spent elsewhere. Can you help me understand that? Yeah.
So when we make a profit as a cooperative, we either reinvest that money back into the network or we basically return those funds back to our membership in the form of capital credit checks. So another word for that could be refund checks.
Okay.
And it used to be that over time, sometimes not everybody claims their checks that they get, whether it's they've moved out of the area, they pass away. So we hold on to that bucket of funds of unclaimed capital credits for a period of time.
Okay.
And it used to be state law that we had to, after a period of time, return that money back to Columbia. But a few years ago, our former CEO Mike Hagg, was able to work to have that law changed so that we are able to actually keep that money and reinvest that money back into our community within those very specific parameters of education and economic development. So instead of sending that money back to Columbia, we get to keep it here locally and reinvest it in our
That's
communities.
awesome.
Yeah.
And not only are you contributing to the community through your programming and your volunteer work that your employees are doing, but you've also got this like kind of additional funding now to target against those priorities that your
Right.
company's identified.
Right.
And the other thing I've noticed about HTC is they're very modest is the way I would describe
Yes.
it. About it isn't you do so many wonderful things, and we'll definitely have you back to talk about that. But it isn't like, at least from my perspective, it isn't like HTC needs to have their name on everything. It's if you're doing the right thing, then all is well. Is that a
Right.
fair statement?
I think that's a very fair statement. We do have our entire leadership employee base is very humble, and it's just we do what we do because that's part of our DNA. We don't need to be front and center. We are just here to support our community.
Well, that's awesome. So, as you're supporting our community, I'm interested in, um, from your perspective and from your company's perspective, how are you feeling? Like, if you had to describe what might feel different today in the Myrtle Beach area versus what it was like maybe even 5 or 10 years ago, how are you feeling about the momentum, and what kind of things have you been able to identify have changed or hopefully improved?
That's a good question. I think I can't say we haven't been surprised by the amount of growth that we've seen in this area. I mean, a lot of our leadership and our employees are from here. We've lived here. We know what a great kept secret this has been. So it's no surprise that we're seeing the growth that we have seen. We've been in lockstep with local leaders to kind of know what's coming and make sure we're prepared for what is coming. And so, in addition to having that network in place, our goal is really doing what we can to get the word out there more about HTC and about the resources available to existing residents and then residents that are very quickly moving to this area.
So do you feel like it sounds like your company, obviously, as many utility companies, right, are very, I guess, the notion of being really well connected to projects that are coming in, work that needs the proper infrastructure in order to succeed and so forth.
Right.
That makes perfect sense. But do you feel like we are in a position to actually see some exponential growth? Do you feel positive and hopeful about what the future holds here?
I think so. I think in terms of growth of numbers of residents that are moving down here, I don't see that slowing down, and I think we are in a good position to see that, and are certainly hopeful that both the infrastructure, varying, not just our infrastructure, but all the infrastructure work that has been done over the years is ready to support that, and ready to, that combined with the work that folks like the Economic Development Group and Partnership Grandstrand are doing, will continue to recruit new industry as well to diversify our economy.
Yeah, and how much easier that job will be because of the work that HTC has done.
Right.
And
We certainly
thank
hope
you
so.
so very much for that. I think, again, in your and your company's humble nature, it's, yes, we're able to deliver 99%, connectivity. That's a big deal. And
It is.
you're, I think, very meek, if the word comes to mind, in terms of really kind of touting that. I mean, that
Right.
is going to be has been and is going to be a significant advantage for companies to be thinking about coming into this area versus other choices, right?
Yeah.
And that just strengthens our kind of positioning.
Yeah, and that is something that we are, a goal of ours over the next year or two is to be a lot more intentional about getting that message out there, still being humble, but making sure that everyone understands and is aware of what asset they really have here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, is there anything else that crosses your mind, Sarah, that you would want to share with our listeners about HTC or about the work that you do?
I don't think so. I think we've hit on all of the high points, but we would love to come back and talk to you more about the various things that we have going on in the community
Yes,
as this
absolutely.
podcast continues to grow.
Well, thank you. We so appreciate that, and we definitely want you to come back again and often, because what we're really just trying to do is just spread the word and give folks the facts and clarity that they need to really continue to fuel the momentum and to get folks to really feel positive and hopeful about what the future can bring. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We will be in touch, and we will definitely have you back. I would definitely think we need to set aside some time specifically just to talk about the community work that
Yes.
you guys do.
Yep.
But we'd have to probably go to an hour and a half or 2 hour podcast.
right.
So we'll set that
There
up
you
for
go.
another time. But thanks again for everything, and especially thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time and all you do.
Thank you.
2, 1, go.
Well, I don't know about you, but I had no idea that HTC has built such an immense and powerful fiber network for all of us to enjoy. It's impressive to learn that their capability is so powerful that it has and will play a significant role in attracting technology companies to our area. This is a great example of how an infrastructure provider has demonstrated both the forethought and the capability to take action. And because they've done that, they have prepared us for tremendous economic growth. We can't thank HTC enough. We'll look forward to having them back again to talk more about all the great things they're doing in the community. But until then, that's all for now, and we hope you'll keep thriving. Talk to you.